The sun dipped low over the horizon, casting a warm golden light across the sprawling landscape of the Anderson Ranch. Known far and wide, the ranch was a symbol of success, its rolling fields filled with grazing cattle and horses. At the center of this vast expanse stood Nathaniel Anderson, a man in his early 30s with a rugged charm and a strong frame shaped by years of hard work. Each morning, he rose before dawn, ready to oversee his land and the men who worked it. Nathaniel's life was one of routine and discipline. He would start his day with a hearty breakfast prepared by his housekeeper, then ride out on horseback, checking fences and ensuring that everything ran smoothly. He took pride in the quality of his livestock and the beauty of his land. The ranch was not just a business, it was his legacy, built on generations of hard labor and dedication. However, as successful as he was, there lingered an emptiness in Nathaniel's heart. He surrounded himself with friends who understood ranch life but often felt isolated in their conversations about crops and livestock. Laughter echoed across the fields, yet he found himself longing for something more, someone who could stir his soul and challenge his views. In the evenings, after a long day's work, Nathaniel would sit on his porch, watching the stars emerge one by one against the darkening sky. The stillness of the night wrapped around him like a comforting blanket, but deep down, he knew he was missing out on life's deeper connections. As he contemplated what lay ahead for him, little did he know that change was on the horizon. A new chapter was about to unfold, one that would flip his world upside down, starting with the arrival of a bold settler woman who dared to chase her dreams amidst the vastness of the West. Nathaniel had no inkling that this woman would challenge everything he thought he knew about love and happiness. As the sun rose on a new day, a cloud of dust kicked up on the horizon, announcing the arrival of a wagon making its way into town. At the helm was Clara McAllister, a woman with fiery red hair that danced in the wind and eyes that sparkled with determination. Clara was not your ordinary settler, she had traveled far and wide to claim her place in the West, driven by dreams of independence and adventure. Dressed in sturdy clothes suited for tasks of labor, Clara carried herself with confidence. Her spirit emanated strength, and she was quick to lend a helping hand to anyone in need. Unlike many women of her time who were expected to conform to traditional roles, Clara yearned for more than just domestic life. She dreamed of building her own homestead, cultivating the land, and creating a life defined by her choices. As Clara settled into the small town, her presence turned heads and stirred conversations. Some admired her courage, while others whispered doubts about a woman trying to succeed in a man's world. Yet, Clara brushed off any skepticism without hesitation. She believed that hard work and determination were not bound by gender. With every task she tackled, whether it was mending fences or tending to crops, she proved to herself and others that she could hold her own. At town gatherings, Clara's laughter rang out like music, drawing people toward her magnetic personality. She shared tales of her travels and dreams of adventure, captivating those around her. While many thought she was simply an outsider looking for a fresh start, Clara held within her an unwavering belief that she could forge her own destiny. Little did Clara know that her arrival would not only reshape her future but also spark an unexpected connection with Nathaniel Anderson, one that would challenge both their lives in ways they could never predict. The path ahead promised excitement and trials as their worlds began to intertwine. The annual town fair was in full swing, vibrant with laughter, music, and the tantalizing aroma of baked goods wafting through the air. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze as townsfolk gathered to celebrate the season's harvest. Nathaniel had attended these fairs faithfully each year, but this time felt different. He had no idea that a chance encounter awaited him. As he meandered through the bustling crowd, his gaze fell on Clara, who stood by a booth displaying handmade crafts. She was animatedly chatting with a group of children, her laughter ringing out like wind chimes. Her fiery hair caught the sunlight, framing her face as she shared stories about her adventures. Nathaniel couldn't help but admire her spirit from a distance, captivated by how effortlessly she connected with everyone around her. Gathering his courage, Nathaniel approached Clara, drawn in by the magnetic energy she exuded. "I've never seen anyone quite like you at a fair," he said with a warm smile. Clara turned to him, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Well, I'm not here to just blend in," she replied playfully. "I came to make my mark and maybe have some fun while doing it." Their conversation flowed easily, filled with banter and shared smiles. Clara spoke passionately about her dreams of building a homestead and her love for the land. Nathaniel found himself opening up about his life on the ranch in ways he had never done before. As they talked, their surroundings faded away. It was as if they were the only two people in the world. A spark ignited between them, one that neither could ignore. Nathaniel felt an exhilarating rush of emotions he hadn't experienced in years, an unfamiliar mix of excitement and nervousness. Clara's boldness challenged him, and he realized how much he craved connection and adventure. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the fairground, Nathaniel knew this moment marked the beginning of something significant, a journey that would change both their lives forever. As the days passed after their encounter at the fair, Nathaniel found himself in turmoil. Each morning, he woke to the same sunrise lighting up the ranch, but his thoughts drifted to Clara. Her laughter and her fierce spirit haunted him, igniting feelings he had long buried beneath layers of duty and reputation. Nathaniel was accustomed to a life of structure. His responsibilities as a ranch owner weighed heavily on him. He had a legacy to uphold, one founded upon hard work and tradition. Friends and family expected him to maintain a certain image, stoic, dependable, and most importantly, focused only on the ranch. Yet with every passing moment, Clara's boldness challenged those very expectations. At first, he tried to dismiss his feelings, telling himself that it was foolish to think about someone like Clara. What could they possibly have in common? She was a free spirit chasing dreams while he carried the weight of his family's legacy on his shoulders. But deep down, Nathaniel felt an undeniable pull toward her independence and passion for life. During his usual routine of checking the cattle or mending fences, images of Clara intertwined with his thoughts. He imagined how she would tackle challenges on her homestead with relentless optimism. On one hand, he admired her courage, on the other, he feared it would disrupt his well-ordered world. Nathaniel often found himself at crossroads between tradition and desire. At dinner with friends, conversations grew dull as he tried to mask his internal struggle, nodding along while thoughts of Clara fluttered in his mind like butterflies chasing sunlight. The more they spoke about settling down or starting families with women fitting societal norms, the more isolated he felt. The smile on Clara's face from their last meeting lingered like a beacon of hope amidst darkness, the kind that urged him to re-evaluate everything he had once deemed important. As doubts crept in about what others would think if he pursued something so untraditional with her, Nathaniel was left grappling with a question: could he summon the strength to follow his heart and break free from expectations? Clara McAllister was determined to make her mark in the West, and she knew that proving herself in this rugged landscape was essential. With dreams of building a homestead, she faced numerous challenges in a world often dominated by men. Yet, each obstacle fueled her resilience and strengthened her resolve. One crisp morning, Clara set out to clear a piece of land for planting. Armed with a sturdy shovel and a fierce spirit, she arrived at the site only to find that the ground was rocky and tough. It would have been easy to give up, but Clara rolled up her sleeves and got to work. As she dug into the earth, sweat glistened on her brow, and with each swing of the shovel, she felt more empowered. She recalled stories from women who had come before her, those who had carved out lives against all odds, and used their determination as inspiration. Her efforts did not go unnoticed. Local men passed by on their way to their own tasks, some stopping to gawk at the sight of a woman undertaking such labor. While a few offered unsolicited advice or expressed disbelief that she could do it alone, Clara held her head high. "I can handle this," she called out confidently, defying their expectations. Every scoff only fueled her desire to succeed. As days turned into weeks, Clara continued to tackle various projects around her homestead, from mending fences to tending to her small garden. She learned quickly how to navigate tools and techniques that many thought were beyond her reach. Each achievement became a small victory that showcased not only her physical strength but also her unyielding spirit. Despite facing hardships like harsh weather and self-doubt, Clara remained undeterred. She found joy in every challenge and celebrated the progress she made. With every success, Clara was not just proving herself, she was redefining what it meant to be a woman in this new frontier. Her determination rippled through the community as others began to take notice of her grit and tenacity. Little did she know that Nathaniel Anderson was also watching from afar, captivated by the very qualities that made her shine in a world filled with doubt. As the weeks turned into months, Nathaniel and Clara found themselves crossing paths more frequently. Their initial attraction blossomed into a genuine friendship, built on shared adventures and the support they offered each other in their respective endeavors. Nathaniel often rode out to Clara's homestead, offering help with her projects under the pretense of checking in on her progress. It was during these visits that they exchanged laughter, stories, and dreams. One afternoon, as they worked together repairing a fence, Clara suddenly paused and turned to Nathaniel. "Do you ever wonder what life would be like if we chose differently?" she asked, her eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and vulnerability. Nathaniel felt a stirring in his heart. Here was someone who, like him, grappled with the weight of expectations. He opened up about the pressures he faced as a ranch owner, explaining how he longed for moments that felt real and meaningful. "I feel trapped sometimes," he admitted, glancing at the horizon where the sky met the land. "What if I wanted something more than just this?" Clara nodded, understanding in her gaze. In that moment of honesty, their bond deepened as they each recognized the struggles that lay beneath their strong exteriors. On weekends, they often ventured out on horseback to explore the surrounding countryside, discovering hidden gems like sparkling streams and secret meadows filled with wildflowers. During these outings, laughter rang through the air as they challenged each other to races or shared tales of their most outrageous misadventures growing up. Late evenings together around campfires became cherished memories. Stories would unfold under a canopy of stars, where dreams felt closer and reality drifted away. They talked about their visions for the future, Clara's ambition of building her own farm and Nathaniel's desire to defy societal expectations. Through both triumphs and frustrations, their feelings for one another began to evolve from friendship into something warmer and more profound. Clara admired Nathaniel's strength and integrity while he found inspiration in her unyielding spirit. They became each other's confidants, encouraging each other to take risks and pursue the lives they truly desired, their connection growing deeper with every shared adventure and moment of vulnerability. As Nathaniel's friendship with Clara deepened, the whispers of disapproval began to circulate among his friends and family. They questioned his choices as he spent more time with a settler woman who did not fit into their established social circle. At gatherings, conversations turned uneasy, and some began to express their concerns loudly. One evening, at a dinner hosted by his mother, Nathaniel could feel the tension hanging in the air. Guests chatted politely while casting furtive glances at him, their eyes flickering between him and Clara, who had attended the last town gathering alongside Nathaniel. "What do you see in that girl?" one of his childhood friends asked, lowering his voice but not enough to shield it from prying ears. "She's a settler. You're a rancher, a man of stature. You should be with someone from our own kind." The words pierced Nathaniel's heart. It was the very expectations he had wrestled with for years laid bare before him. He found himself stuck in a tumultuous sea of tradition and desire, defending Clara's strength while grappling with the weight of his community's expectations. That night, he sought solace in the quiet pasture under the stars, feeling overwhelmed by conflicting thoughts. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that Clara's boldness brought out a side of him that had been buried for too long. But how could he reconcile that with what others expected from him? Days later, during a weekend outing with Clara, Nathaniel felt compelled to address the issue directly. As they rode side by side under the wide sky, he hesitated before speaking up. "People are starting to talk," he admitted cautiously. Clara gave him an understanding look but continued onward without skipping a beat. "Let them talk," she replied confidently. "I'm here to chase my dreams, not fit into someone else's idea of who I should be." Her words resonated deeply within him. Clara was unyielding in her pursuit of life and happiness, even in the face of criticism. Yet still, Nathaniel felt torn between his growing feelings for her and the expectations that loomed large over him like thunderclouds ready to burst. The external pressures began to weigh heavily on Nathaniel. It became clear that maintaining this friendship, or perhaps something deeper, would require courage against societal norms that dictated who he should be with. As Nathaniel continued to navigate his feelings for Clara, he began to notice subtle changes in his life on the ranch. His once structured routine slipped into disarray, he found himself distracted during meetings with his workers, often daydreaming of Clara's laughter and her fierce determination. The cows needed tending, but he couldn't shake the thoughts of her adventures and their conversations about dreams. The pressure mounted when Clara faced difficulties on her homestead. A storm swept through the area one night, damaging her fences and threatening her crops. She had worked so hard to establish her land, and now the weight of despair set in. When Nathaniel learned of this, his instinct to help her overwhelmed him. However, his own responsibilities loomed large. If he neglected his ranch, it could lead to significant setbacks. One evening, Nathaniel decided to ride over to Clara's place to lend a hand. As he arrived, he saw her struggling with a broken fence in the fading light. "You didn't have to come," she said, brushing dirt from her hands, though her eyes sparkled with gratitude. "You have a ranch to manage." "I can't just sit back while you face this alone," he replied firmly, regret creeping into his voice as he felt yet again the pull between their worlds. They worked side by side late into the night, reconnecting with every nail hammered and every plank fixed. Yet, as they finished up, Nathaniel couldn't shake the feeling that these moments came at a cost. Each outing spent helping Clara left him with a gnawing anxiety about his own duties. He was falling behind on essential tasks at his ranch, and whispers of disapproval among his friends turned louder whenever they noticed his absences. Days passed where the ranch struggled under his distracted leadership. Supplies weren't ordered in time, and production slowed. Depressed by the state of his livelihood and feeling inadequate, Nathaniel finally confronted Clara one afternoon. "I'm letting both of us down," he admitted during a candid conversation outside her homestead. Clara saw the conflict written across his face and understood the crushing weight of expectation he bore. She reached for his hand, squeezing it gently as she replied, "You aren't letting me down, you're just trying to find your way." Yet Nathaniel knew that real challenges lay ahead. Both their futures depended on resolutions they had yet to confront, the tension between pursuing personal happiness and fulfilling societal roles. It became clear that embracing their bond might also mean facing trials that would test them both more than they could imagine. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the fields as Nathaniel stood outside his ranch house, lost in thought. He had faced many storms, but none compared to the turmoil within him. After weeks of grappling with his feelings for Clara and the pressures of tradition, it was time to confront what he truly wanted from life, and what place Clara could have in that future. He recalled their last conversation, where Clara had pressed him about his dreams. "What do you want, Nathaniel?" she had asked, her eyes searching his for answers. At that moment, he hadn't spoken but instead had felt the walls of expectation binding him tighter. Now, as he gazed at the horizon, he realized the truth clenched in his heart. He wanted more than just to uphold a legacy. He wanted a life filled with shared adventures and true happiness. Meanwhile, Clara sat on her porch, looking out over her homestead, feeling a sense of uncertainty creeping into her own thoughts. She had fought hard against every challenge life threw at her and prided herself on her independence. Yet Nathaniel's presence made her question whether independence meant living life completely alone. The connection they shared was undeniable. She sensed that their feelings for each other had grown beyond friendship. As dusk approached, both Nathaniel and Clara made their way toward the nearby overlook where they often went to talk and dream. As Nathaniel arrived first, he took a deep breath to steady himself before she appeared. He knew this would not be an easy conversation. When Clara stepped onto the overlook, she looked at Nathaniel and smiled softly but sensed something heavier in the air. "You're quiet today," she noted as she joined him at the edge. "I've been thinking," he said slowly, gathering his thoughts like a storm brewing. "About us, about what we want." He turned to face her fully, searching her features for understanding. Clara's heart raced at the seriousness in his tone. "I've been thinking about that too," she replied cautiously. They exchanged words filled with vulnerability, sharing hopes and fears about their futures and what it would mean to be together despite societal disapproval. The weight of their individual journeys bore down upon them in that moment as they pondered a path forward. "Do we pursue what feels right?" Clara asked hesitantly, "even when the world tells us not to?" Nathaniel took a step closer and grasped her hand firmly. "I think it's time we stop worrying about what others think and start chasing our own dreams together." In that climactic moment, both characters confronted their deepest desires, an affirmation of love that defied convention, and decided they were ready to embrace whatever challenges awaited them on their shared journey ahead. As Nathaniel and Clara embraced their newfound commitment to each other, the reality of their decision weighed heavily on them. They both knew that societal pressures would not vanish overnight, and that whispers of disapproval would likely follow them. Still, the strength of their love began to overshadow the fears that had once held them back. In the days following their conversation at the Overlook, they resolved to stand united against the judgment of others. Nathaniel spent less time worrying about what his friends and family thought and more time helping Clara with her homestead, where their laughter mingled with hard work. Together, they transformed her land into a thriving place filled with promise, a reflection of their shared dreams. However, their resolve was soon tested. At a town gathering, a prominent member of the community openly criticized Nathaniel for lowering himself by associating with a settler. Heated discussions ensued among the guests, leaving Nathaniel feeling exposed and vulnerable. The weight of tradition pressed down on him again, igniting doubts. Was he willing to sacrifice everything for a relationship that would draw ire from those he had known all his life? Later that night, Clara sensed his turmoil. As they reunited under the stars outside her homestead, Nathaniel shared his fears. "What if I lose everything, my respect, my standing?" he asked, searching Clara's eyes for understanding. "Then I think you gain something even greater," Clara replied softly. "Our love should never be a cause for shame, it's worth fighting for." Her unwavering strength rekindled Nathaniel's resolve. Empowered by her words, they faced the townspeople together during their next gathering. Standing side by side before the curious crowd, Nathaniel publicly acknowledged Clara as his partner and equal. The declaration sent ripples through the gathered patrons, some gasps mixed with murmurs of disbelief. Their union challenged societal norms head-on. In that moment, surrounded by both support and skepticism, Nathaniel felt reborn. He was no longer confined by expectations, instead, he chose love over tradition. Their courage became a beacon for others in search of authenticity in their lives, hinting at a new beginning not just for themselves but also for those who dared to challenge age-old conventions. With hearts filled with hope and determination to build a future together, Nathaniel and Clara took their first steps toward a life where love reigned supreme, a journey marked not just by obstacles but also by profound joy and liberation from tradition's grasp. As the seasons changed, so did Nathaniel and Clara's lives on the ranch. Their love had blossomed into a partnership that went beyond romance. It became a source of strength and inspiration for both. Together, they tackled the challenges of ranch life, combining their skills and dreams to create a flourishing homestead that reflected their shared vision. Clara's resilience and resourcefulness complemented Nathaniel's experience and dedication. With each passing day, they learned more about each other, not just as partners in love but as equal contributors to their shared goals. They implemented new farming techniques, explored innovative ways to market their products, and even hosted community gatherings that brought people together to celebrate their combined efforts. The whispers of disapproval from the past began to fade as the townsfolk saw the positive impact of their union. Standing together on their porch one evening, gazing over the expansive fields they had cultivated, Nathaniel turned to Clara with a smile. "I never imagined life could be this fulfilling," he said, reflecting on how far they had come. Clara nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "We've created something beautiful together." Their bond deepened not only through their successes but also through the challenges they faced. They navigated storms, both literal and metaphorical, learning to lean on each other for support. Whenever doubts crept in, they reminded one another of the love that had sparked their journey in the first place. As they stood side by side, ready to embark on new adventures, they recognized that their relationship had transformed them for the better. Nathaniel felt more alive than ever, free from the constraints of societal expectations. Clara found joy in sharing her dreams with someone who truly regarded her as an equal, not just a settler woman but a partner in every sense. Looking ahead, they envisioned a future filled with excitement and possibility. Together, they planned to expand their ranch and explore the beautiful land around them, forging new paths and creating memories that would last a lifetime. With hearts full of hope and determination, Nathaniel and Clara stepped confidently into their next chapter, a shared journey marked by love, growth, and unyielding adventure.